Let's get started with our first news. Belal Muhammad explains why he believes the UFC absolutely needs more weight classes. In his opinion, the current structure of weight divisions is too limited and doesn't reflect the diversity of fighters' natural body types. He points out that there are far too many fighters stuck in what he calls the middle zone, specifically between 155 and 170 pounds, and then again between 170 and 185 pounds. These gaps leave many fighters in a tough position. They're either too big to make the cut safely to the lower division, or too small to be truly competitive in the upper one. Belal argues that the solution is clear. The UFC needs to introduce new divisions that bridge these dangerous gaps. He refers to these fighters as in-betweeners, guys who are incredibly talented but are constantly struggling to find a division where they can truly thrive. According to him, creating more divisions would open the door for more opportunities. It would allow fighters to extend their careers, stay healthier, and compete more frequently without risking their physical and mental well-being. One of the biggest issues, he says, is the extreme weight cutting. Belal stresses that the current system forces many athletes to push their bodies to the limit just to make weight. He personally knows fighters who go through torturous cuts, starving themselves and dehydrating to dangerous levels. The weight cut kills a lot of people, he says, sometimes literally and often figuratively, as it kills their performance, energy, and even passion for the sport. Even if new weight classes are added, he acknowledges that some fighters may still try to manipulate the system. Heavier fighters might attempt to go down in weight just to gain a size advantage. But despite that possibility, Belal believes it would still be worth it. The benefits outweigh the downsides. More weight classes would mean more title fights, more belts, more events, more headliners. And for the UFC, that means more business, more entertainment, and a deeper, more vibrant roster of champions across the board. He also points out the safety aspect. Having more divisions would reduce the number of extreme weight cuts, which are known to cause long-term damage to the body. It would be a win-win situation for both fighters and fans. Fans would get to see athletes performing at their best, strong, hydrated, and full of energy, not drained and barely able to make it through weigh-ins. Ultimately, Belal Muhammad makes it clear, expanding the number of weight classes in the UFC just makes too much sense to ignore. From a competitive standpoint, a health standpoint, and even a business standpoint, it's a move the UFC should seriously consider. The fighters are ready, the fans are ready. It's time for the UFC to evolve. Moving on to our second news. Max Holloway says Justin Gaethje hits harder than Ilia Topuria. This is a statement that's been getting a lot of attention from fans and fighters alike. On paper, it sounds surprising because Topuria is the one who actually knocked Max out in the first round, while Gaethje went all 5 rounds without finishing him. But Max has a very clear explanation for this, and he breaks it down in a way only someone with his experience can. He says that even though Ilia finished the fight in devastating fashion, the raw physical power he felt in the cage was on another level when he fought Gaethje. It's an interesting distinction. He admits openly that, of course, Topuria hits hard. You don't get a first-round KO without real power, but when you're actually in there trading shots, there's a difference between getting caught clean and feeling someone's relentless, heavy, bone-crushing force over and over again. Max describes Gaethje as a fighter whose every strike demands respect. When Gaethje punches or kicks, you feel it throughout your entire body. You don't get to ignore it. He says there was this unrelenting impact in every exchange, like Gaethje wasn't just trying to win rounds, but trying to break him down. His kicks were especially brutal. Max felt them thudding against his legs and ribs with a kind of raw, violent energy that made him change his approach immediately. He contrasts that with Ilia's style. When Ilia hit him, even the shot that ended the fight, it wasn't the same kind of "oh man, he hits hard" feeling in the moment. It was more about the timing, the angle, and the precision. It was expertly placed, but it didn't have that same raw, unstoppable force that Gaethje brings. It didn't carry the same threat in every exchange. And that's important for people to understand about fighting at this level. Power isn't just about the result on the record. It's about how it feels in there, how it changes your entire strategy, how it forces you to respect distance and defense in a different way. Gaethje's power is the kind that wears on you, drains your gas tank, and makes you think twice about every move. It's constant, punishing, and completely unforgiving. Max is known for being one of the most honest, thoughtful fighters in MMA when it comes to breaking down opponents. He's fought some of the most dangerous strikers on the planet. So when he says Gaethje hits harder, it's not an insult to Ilia. It's a testament to Justin's raw violence and legendary durability. It's the kind of thing you can't fake. He respects both men tremendously. He gives Ilia full credit for the knockout. He knows how dangerous Topuria is. But in terms of the hardest, most brutal power he's felt in the octagon, Gaethje is simply on another level. It's a powerful insight from one of the sport's best, and a reminder that styles make fights, and that pure destructive power is a weapon all its own. Moving on to another news, Dana White thinks Derek Lewis's fight was an early stoppage. This moment has been making headlines because of everything that happened around it. Derek Lewis scored a TKO victory over Talison Tarara, but it wasn't just the win itself that got people talking, it was the whole scene that followed. Dana White shared a wild detail right after the fight. It was Donald Trump himself who called Derek Lewis to congratulate him. Dana described the moment in classic Dana White style. He said, "You're sitting there watching Derek get the KO, the crowd's going crazy, and then President Trump just calls you right on the spot." Derek was so hyped up, he literally walked over to Dana and said, "Where's the president?" Dana had to explain, he's not here tonight, but he's watching. And so Dana just got him on the phone, put him in touch, and let them talk. It was one of those iconic, only in the UFC moments that makes headlines way outside of MMA circles. Dana laughed about it afterward. He said he doesn't even know what Derek wanted to say to Trump. He joked that maybe Derek was trying to book himself a fight on the White House card that everyone's talking about. That's the big thing now. Every fighter is trying to figure out how they can get on this rumored historic event. It's become almost like a running joke behind the scenes, but it shows just how big the UFC has gotten. But aside from the political spectacle, Dana addressed the actual fight itself. He admitted he thought the stoppage was a bit too early. He explained that's just how it goes sometimes in this sport. Refs have to make split-second decisions. They're trained to prioritize fighter safety above all else, and no one wants to see someone get seriously hurt. Dana gets that, and he respects it. But from his perspective as a promoter and as a fight fan himself, it felt like it was just a touch too fast. He said, "Look, these are heavyweights. This division is built on the idea that one punch can change everything. You can be losing for 14 minutes and 59 seconds, but if you land that one big shot, you win. That's why fans love the division. That's why fighters like Derek Lewis are so important. They're always dangerous, always entertaining, and they keep people on the edge of their seats." Dana also mentioned that Derek might be just one fight away from another title shot. That's the reality in the heavyweight division. You don't need a long win streak sometimes. You just need the right win at the right time. And guys like Derek are always in the mix because of that KO power. In the end, Dana summed it up perfectly. It is what it is. He knows fans want to see these guys go at it. They want drama. They want those highlight reel finishes. And love him or hate him, Derek Lewis always delivers. The heavyweight division needs guys like him to keep it exciting, unpredictable, and absolutely unmissable. Moving on to another news, Arman Serukian is helping Kamzot Chimaev with his training camp. This is one of the most talked about partnerships in MMA right now. Arman revealed he's been working closely with Kamzot as he prepares to challenge Dricus du Plessis for the UFC middleweight title. It's one of the biggest fights of Kamzot's career, and the camp is taking it extremely seriously. Arman recently gave fans an update about how things are going, and he sounded genuinely excited. He said, "Hello everybody, I'm Arman Serukian. We have a training camp with Kamzot. He's getting ready for his title fight. He looks sharp, so excited for him and to see him become UFC champion." You can hear the respect and the genuine support in his words. This isn't just two fighters training together. It's about building a strategy, pushing each other to their limits, and preparing for the absolute highest level of competition. Arman made it clear that Kamzot is healthy right now. That alone is big news for fans, because there have always been questions about whether Kamzot can stay injury-free during intense camps. Arman says Kamzot has a lot of energy. He's training hard every day, staying focused, and looking sharp in all areas of his game. That's crucial when you're going up against a dangerous, well-rounded champion like Dricus du Plessis. Arman also explained his own role in the camp. He's not there to be the star, he's there to support Kamzot in whatever way is needed. If they need wrestling, he'll wrestle. If they need striking, he'll strike. He's completely unselfish about it. He's there to make sure Kamzot is getting the best work possible. It's about sharpening every skill, pushing the pace, and making sure there are no weak spots left by the time fight night arrives. This also highlights the level of preparation going into this title shot. These guys are known for being extremely well-rounded fighters. They're not just specialists in one area. They can do it all, and that's exactly what it takes to win at the championship level in the UFC. Arman says the training is intense, and that's no surprise. A title fight demands everything from you. The pace is relentless, the drills are precise, and the focus is unbreakable. Arman's praise for Kamzot shows just how serious this camp is. There's a real sense of mission here. They know the stakes. A UFC title fight isn't just another fight, it's a chance to make history. Arman wants to see Kamzot become champion, and he's putting in the work to make sure that happens. It's the kind of partnership that shows what MMA is really about: respect, teamwork, and the drive to be the best. Fans will be watching closely, because when you have fighters like Arman and Kamzot pushing each other every day, you know something special is coming. This is the type of preparation that creates champions, and they're leaving nothing to chance. Moving on to another news. Daniel Cormier thinks Jon Jones should headline the White House card. This is a big statement from someone who's been in the sport for years and knows the game inside out. Daniel says that if the UFC is going to put on a truly special event, especially one as symbolic as a card at the White House, they need to make sure it's headlined by the right person, and in his opinion, that person is Jon Jones. He explains his reasoning very clearly. If the UFC is going to hold this event on the 4th of July, America's Independence Day, then you need an American fighter who can go out there and win. It's not just about putting on a good show, it's about representing the country on one of its biggest holidays. Daniel points out that right now, they don't even have an American fighter in the top 10 pound-for-pound rankings. They don't have an active American champion outside of Kayla Harrison now that Jon has retired. That leaves a big gap in representation at the highest level. So when you ask, who do you send to get the victory on July 4th? Daniel's answer is simple: you send Jon Jones. He says Jon has done it his whole career. He's proven. He's the guy you can trust to deliver when the pressure is at its highest. He's fought the toughest competition and always found a way to win. That kind of track record isn't easy to find, and it's exactly what you want if you're trying to showcase American MMA on the most patriotic day of the year. What makes Daniel's endorsement even more interesting is that he's never really seen eye to eye with Jon. Their rivalry is one of the most famous in UFC history, but even with all of that, Daniel is willing to admit the truth. If you absolutely need a win, you send Jon Jones. That's how much he respects Jon's ability when it comes down to it. He even starts going down the list of other great American fighters. Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, who's retiring next weekend, and so many others. They're all incredibly talented. But if you're talking about who you trust with that moment, the answer is Jon. He's the proven BET. He's the guy who delivers when it matters most. Daniel also brought up a great story about Jon's mindset. When Jon announced he was coming back, he literally called UFC headquarters that same afternoon on the 4th of July. That shows just how motivated he is by big moments like this. Fighting at the White House isn't just another fight for Jon. It's the kind of thing that gets him excited. Daniel says Jon would fight anyone. If Tom Aspinall is the champion by then, Jon won't have a choice but to fight him, and that's fine. That's what makes it even more exciting for fans. Whenever Jon Jones fights, the entire sport benefits. The attention grows, the hype grows, the division lights up. That's why Daniel Cormier says you put Jon on that card. He's the one you can trust to deliver the big moment, to represent the country, and to make it an event no one will ever forget. Moving on to another news. Daniel Cormier explains why Topa versus Makachev should happen. The MMA community went wild when Dana White publicly confirmed interest in a super fight between Ilia Topa and Islam Makachev. That single sentence flipped the lightweight and welterweight divisions on their heads. Islam's close friend Daniel weighed in, saying just the fact Dana said it out loud means one thing: it's happening. According to Daniel, if Islam gets past JDM, the next move is already set. It's Islam versus Ilia. That's the super fight on deck. But what does that mean for Ilia in the meantime? Islam versus JDM is expected to go down in the fall. Ilia has also said he wants to make his return by the end of the year. So if he's serious about fighting again in 2025, it probably won't be against Islam. It could be someone like Paddy Pimblett. That would be huge business-wise, but a totally different challenge style-wise. On the flip side, if Ilia chooses to sit out, he can line himself up perfectly for a blockbuster with Islam in early 2026. Of course, that all depends on Islam beating Jack Della, who is no easy fight and brings real danger on the feet. Daniel says there's no fight bigger for the UFC to make. Ilia Topuria is a massive favorite over everyone else except Islam. That alone tells you how highly regarded Islam is, because Ilia is so dangerous. He became lightweight champion in dramatic fashion against Charles Oliveira. Dana said it right away: if Islam becomes welterweight champ, you have a super fight. And what we know about the UFC is when there's a super fight to make, it's hard to turn away. It brings the money, it brings the eyes. That's the type of fight that draws people in. It's what grows the sport. Daniel says there are a lot of moving pieces in the UFC right now. A lot of it centers around these two guys. Islam has proven himself over and over. Ilya is the new star with so much hype and momentum. Both of them are fan favorites. They have completely different styles, and that's what makes the fight so intriguing. The clash of styles is what the sport is all about. It's strategy, it's violence, it's skill. And when you put two guys like that in the octagon, anything can happen. That's why the UFC is so interested. It's a fight that could headline any card. It could headline an entire year of marketing. It's the kind of match that fans remember forever. The hype would be insane. The press conferences would be legendary. The actual fight, it could be an all-time classic. Daniel knows it. Dana knows it. The fans know it. It's the type of fight that cements legacies. And that's why in Daniel's eyes, it's not a matter of if, it's when. It's going to happen. And when it does, it will be one of the biggest moments in UFC history. These are the latest updates from the world of MMA, showing us once again that the sport never stops evolving. The fights get bigger, the rivalries get sharper, and the stakes keep getting higher. Whether it's new weight classes, legendary champions making comebacks, or super fights that could define an era, the UFC continues to deliver the most electrifying moments in combat sports. So stay tuned because the ride is just getting started.